Hi everyone, it's Andrew Murchie here from Enhanced Dimensions, welcoming you to part 3 of our tutorials on converting 2D to 3D using Adobe After Effects. You'll have to excuse if this recording is a little bit strange. What happened was I recorded it in 2 parts, and the first part actually went wrong, and now I've come to do the edit and found that I couldn't actually use the file, so I had to go right back to the beginning. But there's been some changes in the meantime. One is I've got a cold, so now I sound completely different. So no matter what I try to do, there's no way I'm going to be able to stick the 2 parts together without you eagle-eared listeners actually noticing that I've got a cold. And secondly, possibly more interestingly, if you've watched my other tutorials, I always sit up here in my little attic room going on about the aircraft flying over my house. Well, the cloud of ash that has swept across the UK and into Europe from the volcano in Iceland actually means that there are no flights going on. So I really have very little diversions to chat about. I guess I could chat a little bit about the ash cloud, but I don't know enough about it, so I'll pretty much just ignore it and try and get on with the tutorial, which I'm actually sure you're pretty happy about. So part 3, I actually personally think this is the most interesting of the tutorials. I think the next one's good too, but this one's a real good one. I mean, this one is pretty exciting. If you have your specs on, what I really like about this scene that we're going to work with, which is sort of scene 3 here, and is if you look with your Red Cyan anaglyph glasses, which by the way are available from www.enhanceddimensions.com. If you look, you can see a real roundness to this chappie's face. You know, we go to, oh dear, look at that face. Shock. It's like, yeah, big happy round face. But what I think is what I really like about this effect is you've got the real roundness to his face, you've got the depth of the background, but you also have, you know, his nose, his eyes, his mouth, the lines. Everything actually has a bit of depth to it. It's not just flat, and it's this little technique that I'm really happy with. So without any further ado, I think I'm going to go ahead and make a new composition. Now, as I said, I'm actually going to be sticking 2 parts of a tutorial together, so fingers crossed we can get this all to work relatively seamlessly. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import. So we'll grab scene 3. As I said in previous ones, I've actually just created mobs from the MPEGs. So scene 3, and what we'll do is we'll call this composition scene 3 anaglyph, because, oops, missing that anaglyph. It's always good to keep everything named. It's always good to make sure your spelling's right as well. So we've got our left and right views here. What we'll do is we'll take the left one, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-compose that. So we'll call that left view. Again, if you want, you can call that right view, but you don't need to. We'll pop into the left view. Again, we don't really need any of this sound. And what we're going to do is I'm going to duplicate that layer, because this layer is going to become part of the displacement map. Now, if you watch my earlier tutorial on displacement mapping, you'll be able to grasp the concept of effectively where areas are white or lighter than 50% of black, as it were. Those areas will actually rise, the pixels will move so that you get the illusion of things rising above the 0 point of the screen, the 0 parallax. When anything is 50% or darker, technically probably 51% or darker, going right down to a solid black, then what happens is they then are almost, in effect, they're actually behind the 0 parallax, so they look as if they're going into the screen. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this technique to create a roundness and the depth. Anyway, let me stop going on explaining it, and let me get on with doing it. So here you can see we've got the 2. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-compose again, and this time this is going to be the displacement map. Displacement map. So what you can see we've got is displacement map, left view, the original movie we've brought in, and the anaglyph version. The anaglyph version, let's quickly do the bits that we always have to do. I'm really not going to explain this again. We're just going to set the channels, and I'm going to talk about something different. Well, the thing is, you know, it's all very well in theory to say that you'll talk about something different, but actually while you're doing something, it's pretty tricky to actually talk about something else. Maybe that's just a male thing. I know we're not meant to be any use at multitasking. So let's go into the displacement map. Now this is really the interesting bit. I really hope that you're going to go wow at the end of this tutorial, and that'll inspire you to go and do some crazy stuff. We're going to create a new solid layer, and we're going to make a nice white solid, comp size, that's all fine, we go okay. The next thing we're going to do is on that layer we're actually going to cut, or we're going to make a mask, just an eclipse, is it eclipse? Ellipse, I mean ellipse. Now we don't need to be too accurate, because what we're going to do is we're going to soften this edge, so you'll have a fair bit of play. Anyway, I'm just going to try and follow around roughly the shape of his face. Let's see that. That's not too bad. As I said, we're going to feather this edge, so it will be follow that around a wee bit. Oops, a daisy. Clicked the wrong thing there. Follow that a wee bit wider. Yeah, I think that's not too bad for what we're after. That's not too bad. So switch that back on, and you can see actually what we've got. Okay, so we've got shape now. It's nicely cut out. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually, with that layer selected, we're going to add a ramp onto that. So into generate and ramp. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a radial ramp. So it's kind of circular. And we're going to have the start color set as white, and the end color will just set as black. Then what we'll do, we'll get the start of the ramp, and we'll start it where this chappie's nose is, and the end one we'll maybe move to around about his chin, something like that. This is all very I was going to say non-scientific, but we can see we'll make that nicely where the center of his nose is, because that's going to be the highest point. So the highest point is going to be his nose, which is where we've got the white. And if we want to make it, we don't want to make it too black at the edges, because that will then recede almost to the background. So we'll take that down to about that. But we're going to fiddle about with that, and let's just feather the mask a little. By if you click the mask and you go feather, let's try something like maybe 40 and see what that looks like. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So from here we're going to go into the second part of the tutorial. So flick over to part this is part 3A, so flick over to part 3B and watch this work its magic. This is Andrew Murchie for Enhanced Dimensions.